Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is Dr. Wanda Lee here with Dr. Noah on our StreamYard live broadcast. Today we are missing Dr. Mike, but the two of us are carrying on and talking about natural and chemical body care products. Often this is a hot topic on different chat boards and different natural health sites. And so we want to bring a little bit of framework around what kind of toxic chemicals are really in some of your body products, what things you should look for, maybe some simple swaps that could be a great change for you to make, as 2020 could be your year of better health and wellness. So Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast has a few other people you can refer to. We'll list some of those below if it's important in terms of using essential oils. We've had lots of different people on who can talk about that. And also, as part of our Being Superman and Getting to Goddess programs, we have some broader sections in there about toxic body care in our chemical well-being sections, because chemistry is more than nutrition, although that's certainly a big thing. They're not the only chemicals that affect our body. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So Noah, start us off. Why should we care?
Yeah, well, you just mentioned it. So when we think about chemical, we think about food, right? We think about, well, what kind of antibiotics are in the food we eat, or what about the fluoride and the chlorine in our water, so on and so forth. But sometimes, or quite often, what gets overlooked is what are we putting on our bodies or breathing in on a daily basis that is dramatically increasing our toxic and toxin load. And let's think about when you wake up in the morning. So the first thing you do, you wake up in the morning. Well, you shower and you go into the shower and you might use a shampoo like Head and Shoulders or something because you have dandruff and that's got a bunch of chemicals on it. Then you grab some other type of soap that has all sorts of other chemicals in it. And then you hop out of the shower, you dry yourself off, and you reach for a moisturizer that has another set of toxins in it. Then you floss your teeth, and the floss can actually have fluoride on it too, which is mind blowing. And then you brush your teeth, and that has all sorts of other toxins on it. And then you move on through. And then maybe you might wear cologne or perfume. So within the first hour of the day, you very likely could have put on, and deodorant too, deodorant. And within the first hour of the day, you could have easily put on hundreds of different chemicals, some that are not so dangerous and some that could be extremely dangerous, but not knowing how they all combine together, what kind of dangers they might cause before you nearly start your day, before you've even walked out of your house.
Well, and for anybody who's been listening to us over the past 5 years or so, you know that we like to talk about this, our health and our stress in general, as a bucket. So you've got a bucket. Everybody has a bucket. Some people's bucket's bigger than others. Some people bucket's smaller than others, but all of those chemical stresses are going in the same bucket. So they're not individual items. Like Noah said, you're putting all of those on your skin, plus what you drink, plus what you breathe, plus what you eat, plus what's in the air around you at work or at home. So all of that stuff is going into that toxic chemical bucket. And sooner or later, the bucket overflows. So what we're going to talk about today is what's overflowing the bucket a little bit. And, just a few things you can do to just make your load lower. There's absolutely no way to avoid every chemical toxin. So, let's just release the perfection thought about that and not let that paralyze us from just making a couple of simple changes that can make a huge difference. So to start off, just so I don't forget to say this, one of the places that I refer to when I'm looking up products like body care products is the Environmental Working Group. They review sunscreens and creams and all kinds. They have 7,500 products that they test. So it's ewg.org, environmentalworkinggroup.org. And just to give you some idea, some frame of reference, they tested 7,500 products in 2014. So they released their stats a few years ago. Only 28 had actually been evaluated for safety. So of 2,500. And so when they tested them, there were 120 of those products had ingredients that were known or probable carcinogens. So probably cause cancer, or they know for sure that it does. So there's 120 of those right there. About a third of them, of the 7,500 products, had ingredients that were classified by the government as probable to possible carcinogens. So it seems that they might, but we don't know for sure because it's really hard to study. And astoundingly, there were 54 products that violated the safe use recommendations that the CIR had put in place. So they were violating the standards that are in place to help protect us, and they're still on the market. So the moral of this story is nobody's watching out for you. And it's really, really difficult to get good science on some of these chemicals because they're mixed with lots of other chemicals, and those studies would take years and years to manifest, and there's just not the money that can be dedicated to that. But there are a few things that we know that we can look for, and if we make just a couple of different choices, we can at least lower our risks and be a little bit healthier in the meantime. So let's start with two things that you can look for in an ingredient list. One, I think Noah touched on this when he talked about, all those chemicals mixing together, is fragrance. If you see the word fragrance on the label, that could be just about anything. For whatever reason, you don't have to put what chemical that means on a label. You can just call it fragrance. You don't have to list it. You also don't have to list trade secret ingredients. So often there's some other baddies that come in under there, but fragrance is one of the biggest offenders. It makes things smell good, but it's not typically a natural chemical. So unless it's an essential oil or something that comes from nature itself, then it's a man-made chemical. The other one it's called sometimes is parfum, Parfum. And that's the other label that is used to kind of give that class of chemicals. They're often neurotoxic, and they're often among the top 5 allergens in the world. So, it's when people say, they're sensitive to scents nowadays, it's because there's just so much of that out there. So fragrance or parfum, look for those things and try to eliminate as much of that as possible, if not all. And the second one that I think is a big one is called phthalates. It's Phthalate. So it starts with a P, but it's pronounced phthalates. They're industrial plasticizers, and they are in a lot of things, particularly for women. A lot of body creams, a lot of fingernail polish. They're things that keep them smooth and creamy and liquidy over time. If you ever wondered why your nail polish doesn't dry out and you've had it in your drawer for 15 years, it's because it's loaded with this stuff. We know that there are some toxic effects for sure from phthalates. There's some research that's been building over the last number of years, but I don't think we fully know the full impact of that. So those are two that I think you could easily look for on labels and just try to knock those out.
One of the great books that talks about this is Estrogeneration. So just if you guys are looking for a book, it's really, 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 really fantastic.
It's on our bookshelf. It's on our bookshelf on the website. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. It is absolutely on our bookshelf. One of the big things that I've always looked out for my kids and my family, and I've talked about it for years in the office, and this is, I think, on topic, are sunscreens and bug repellents. I think are really, really big. Because I think out of all the toxins, some of the toxins in sunscreen, and particularly DEET in the bug repellents, are extraordinarily dangerous for the human being. In fact, it was on the news around here locally, and all over Facebook today on how dangerous those sunscreens are. So my suggestion has always been for sunscreens are use the sunscreen that have either zinc or titanium oxide, because they block the sun. The other types of sunscreen use chemical blockers. They're using these elaborate chemicals to absorb and alter the sun's rays, and those are the real dangerous ones that get absorbed into your skin. in terms of bug spray, and I'm sure you do this, Wanda Lee, because you make your own natural products. Stay away from DEET. And from my perspective, that has helped my family the most over the years, are some sort of blend of citronella and lemongrass with neem, Neem. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but uh, uh, those two things, along with always using a toothpaste that does not have fluoride, have always been my prime um, go-tos when I'm trying to decrease my chemical load for myself and my family.
Yeah, those are awesome. I know because we talk about this in our clinic too, we try to provide people with options. For those of you who are Canadian, there are two Canadian-made products that for bug sprays that are amazing. One is called Atlantic. It's from right here in Nova Scotia, and it's tick repellent and insect repellent, which is proven to be incredibly effective against ticks, which is a very serious problem with Lyme disease here. So that product is amazing, all natural. And the second one is called Citrobug, and it comes from Quebec. And it has been shown, it's mostly for bugs, flies, mosquitoes, that sort of thing, 99% as effective as DEET when they study it. So those two are my kind of recommendations. If anybody has access to those, or online, or gosh, with Amazon, I think you can get everything anywhere anymore. But those two products are really good. And just to follow up on your toothpaste thought, I was getting real sensitivity in my teeth a number of years ago and did some research, switched off into natural toothpaste probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it never ceases to amaze my dentist and the dental hygienist that my teeth are so much better than they used to be, and no cavities, no issues, no wear and tear, and it never fails. Twice a year when I have my teeth cleaned, they look at it and they're like, still using those? Wow, that really works for you. It's like, yeah, it really does. So, it really can make a big difference. And lastly, the number one thing that I would recommend you give up if you're going to make a change is deodorant. Of all the things we do, it carries a heavy, heavy toxic load. There's often aluminum in commercial deodorants. There's all kinds of other, it's a chemical bath. And then it's put on your underarms where you're going to heat up and your pores are opening. So it's absorbing even more. And so it's a very vulnerable spot, particularly if you look at some of the research around boys. That's a prime bit of research going on around the dangers of, or potential dangers of, deodorants. So there are some natural options. I do make my own, and if you guys are interested, put a little post in here and I will stick the recipe up down below. So let me know if you want that, and I'll give it to you.
Would you say, Wanda Lee, that antiperspirants are far more dangerous than deodorants themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they're both. Typically, deodorants have a lot of chemical perfumes in them, but antiperspirants block your sweat glands. And that is just never a good idea. We have sweat glands for a reason. We need to get toxins out of our bodies and out of our systems, and we need to be able to cool. And they carry, typically the antiperspirants carry the most aluminum content, which is not a good thing. Yeah.
I always thought that was really important, that if I couldn't find some sort of natural type deodorant, to just always stay away from antiperspirants, because I don't want my sweat glands blocked. I believe it could disrupt your lymphatic flow under your arms, right? In women primarily, just real danger. What about vanity products like face creams? Because I have a company that I love to use, that we've interviewed on the podcast, and called Alitura, Alitura, and Andy Nilo has a company that has perfumes and colognes, face creams, masks, body lotions that are made with some incredible ingredients that not are only safe, but that actually help your skin with elasticity. I think, like I've said on the last live stream, and like I said before, I plan on living a long time, and I plan on looking good for a long time too. So what programs, what products or even natural products that you make or can make or use, things like coconut oil, that you could recommend that are really healthful and healthy for your skin?
Well, I make a few creams myself. And one of the ones that's probably the most popular, I call it baby bun butter, but it's baby creams are, these are brand new people with, fresh skin and new nervous systems and brand new bodies. So, and brains are developing like mad. So they're probably one of the areas that, of our population I want to protect the most is those babies. So, putting on some baby bun butter, which apparently is good for all skin issues, because I get testimonials from people all over the place saying, well, we put it on this and this went away, scar healing, all kinds of weird things. But basically it's shea butter, cocoa butter, a little bit coconut oil, some organic grapeseed oil, and then some essential oils like lavender, maybe calendula or chamomile. I use a lot of chamomile in that one. So something like that you can put together yourself, play with what works for you, what doesn't, using, natural organic ingredients, and then maybe a few essential oils for both their healing products and for their scent, just to make things smell nice. You can get a completely natural product. I went to organic face makeup from Jane Airedale. We don't have any affiliation with them, but she makes all natural makeup products. The same with skincare, mostly Eminence, and those are incredibly clean. Do some digging, do some research, look at the ingredients. Makeup for women is one of the worst offenders, and it's something you wear every day. And not, everybody who's an esthetician will tell you this anyway, but don't sleep with your makeup on, especially if it's loaded with chemicals. You're sweating at night, you're warm, everything's just soaking into your skin. It's just a nasty thing to do. So certainly face creams and makeup products are awful. And if you are vulnerable to gluten, look really careful, because a lot of makeup products contain gluten. So if you're sensitive, if you're celiac, if you're gluten sensitive, be mindful of your labels, particularly lipsticks, because you can ingest that when they're there. Very few lipsticks without gluten. So dig a little deeper on that too.
The final thing that I think you guys that's really easy that you can look for is lip balms. As you guys know, primarily my father, my brother, and a little bit of me, we're beekeepers. We have anywhere from 5 to 6 beehives at any one time, and we make lip balms out of the bee wax. And I gotta believe that bee wax created by the bees is a heck of a lot safer than the other petroleum type products that are in some of the other lipsticks and chapsticks that you can use. And I don't know about you, Wanda Lee, but my lips get pretty dry, and there's nothing better than some form of lip balm that's made with beeswax and a couple other oils, like olive oil or shea
Coconut
butter,
oil.
coconut oil, and a little added essential oil for a little scent. Nothing works better than that.
Absolutely. And, people think that's really hard and really time consuming to put these things together. It's really not that hard. It's kind of fun. It's a bit of trial and error. There are a zillion recipes online for different products from all kinds of different people who do that. But anybody who wants our stuff, just message down below and we'll post up what we do, and you can start there and move on. So, moral of the story, any one thing that you want to leave people thinking about, Noah, before we sign out?
Well, the one thing I think that I'd like to just share is that I believe, before you sign off, is that we're going to come back and dial in on these topics a little bit more over time, get a little bit more specific. This is kind of an overriding live stream that will eventually lead into more specific topics exactly on what we're talking about today.
Absolutely. It's a broad topic, and there's absolutely no way to answer every nuance of that in one, but let us know what parts of natural care or what parts of these sort of chemical toxic areas you want to talk about, and we'll do a specific dedicated chat just on that, which can let us dig in a little bit deeper and be more specific with what you can do. And like we said with BYWG, our intent here is to take this complicated, crazy world of health and wellness and just make it simple so that you can kind of pick out this key pieces of this incredible amount of information that's out there right now, because it's paralyzing when you have too much information. So we're here to make it simple and make it usable, and we're here to make sure you can, what, Noah?
Be awesome and never unawesome. Bye, guys.
Awesome. Bye bye.